Hi, Dave here. I'm back, and I wanted to talk to you about the PSA Palmetto State Armory pistol upper. As you can see, I went ahead and I got a riser and put that really cheap red dot I had, red and green dot I had on the upper. I'm going to give it another chance. I went and cranked this thing down nice and tight to make sure that it isn't going to wander. It does not co-sight. However, I have already laser sighted in the pop-up iron sights or iron sights. And now I'm going to go ahead and laser sight in the red dot. Because my laser is actually a red dotted laser, I'm going to use the green dot on this to sight it in. And have a little distance going across the room here. You're not going to see where it's pointed to, but I will show a close-up of the actual adjustment on the red dot itself. So it does sit a little bit high. I like that. I can get my head in there and I can actually see down it. So the idea is you're not sighting it in for impact. You're sighting it in so the red dot matches where the aim point is. The barrel and the red dot match where the aim point is. So you're getting a closer idea of where it's going to go, but it's not going to give you an exact of where it's going to hit. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and turn on my laser. Now, this is not an expensive one. This is a very inexpensive one. So there is some fighting I have to do with it to make it work. Usually. Let's see if I can get it in there and get it to work very quickly. This is what I'm doing. This is the battery pack. I'm sliding it into the side of the laser over here. And it can be difficult to get in properly. It can also be difficult to make it work and function properly. Oh, wow, that worked the first time. That's amazing. That's the first time that's ever happened. One thing I've noticed with this is the back piece here that keeps it in the barrel, that actually has broken, so I have to kind of be gentle with it. So that shouldn't come off inside the barrel, but you never know. So what you do is you slide it down inside the barrel. That has to be there. It has to be flush in the barrel. So you can see it is now slid in and flush down inside the end of the barrel. You want to be careful that you do not break the You want to make sure that you do not break the crown of your barrel, because that can affect accuracy of your rifle. And I can see that the dot is a little above and a little to the right of my aim point. So what I'm going to do is first put on my glasses because, well, Dave here is blind. And I'm going to adjust my aim point down a hair. And Dave is really blind and cannot see which way he's turning it. That way, I believe, is the correct way. And that is not the correct way. Dave needs to turn this downward. Now, the larger your screwdriver, the easier this is going to be. And unfortunately, I chose a very small screwdriver. There we go. Oh yeah, that's getting it down there. I chose a very small screwdriver, so the turning of it is a little more difficult. Let's see. There we go. That looks to be the exact height. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to move the dot over to the left to match where my laser or my bore is pointed. So I believe that is going to be this way. And we'll verify by looking. Yep, it looks like it's moving closer. So again, we move it again. And you want to make sure you're moving it in minor steps. You don't want to do a whole crud of moving and find out that you went too far, just like I just did. So what I'll do is I'll move it back a few less than I moved it over to the left. There we go. I think that's about half. And that is almost dead on. I need to move it a little bit more, one more to the right, which is that. And oop, there goes my screwdriver. And luckily, that is now dead on. So now I've got my green dot from my laser, or from my sight, right on top of the red dot from my bore. So now they're exactly matching. That is exactly how you bore sight. Now, when you get to the range, you have to make sure that you sight in for impact. So what does that mean? As the bullet comes out of the barrel, the bullet is going to have a trajectory that does not match where the bore is pointed to. It's going to be affected by gravity, curvature of the earth, things like that. You will have to make adjustments once you get to the range for these things. So when you get to the range, you're going to fire in a larger scale to see where your impact is. Usually you want to start off at around 25 yards for a rifle, for a pistol, usually 10 yards. And then once you get your impact, so you're adjusting your impact inward to where it matches where you're targeting to. And then as you move out, you're going to move out to the average spot that you're going to be shooting. Something like this, I'm going to probably sight into about 50 yards. So what I would do is I would make my impact, I would start off at 25 yards, work out to about 40 yards, and then from there out to my 50 yards. Working my sight into that point. Now, the thing to keep in mind, when you're indoors sighting this in, that will not always be the same as the sighting outdoors. The reason for this is you have different air temperatures, you have different air quality, you have wind, you have a lot of different factors outside that would not be in effect indoors. So as you sight in inside, you want to make sure that you are factoring in that you will have to resight this outdoors if you plan on doing any shooting outdoors. If you're just using this as a range gun, then if you're using the same range, then it'll pretty much hit the same as each time. If you're using this as a sight-in for when you go shooting outdoors or you go hunting, you will have to make some adjustments when you're out in the environment that you are shooting. So just keep that in mind. There is always a factor. The further out you get, the more that factors in. The closer, 25 yards, 50 yards, not as much of a factor. But as you get further out, it does factor in a lot more. The further out you go, any slight minor adjustments will affect how it impacts. Just things to keep in mind. But in this case, I'm ready for this thing now to go to the range. And what I can do is I can sight both the red dot, and even though it's not a co-sight, I can still see both sights on the iron. So I can sight both in with the red dot on and off. But that's pretty much the way this works. It's not difficult to do. It's just a matter of having the equipment. This, I think, was probably about $40. It really isn't a factor as far as accuracy. What it is it just gives you an aim point to make sure that you're going to at least get on target so you can make final adjustments at the range when you're shooting. But that's this is how I do it. This is how I have done it for the last 30 years. If you guys do it a little different, go ahead and leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you've done something different, if your method of doing this is different than mine, do you just go out and shoot? Do you put a camera in there? I mean, what do you do? But let me know. This is Dave, and we'll see you next time.